What's up, vinyl community? It's Robert Fithin, and I realize it's been a really long time since I've made an artist album ranking video. I haven't done one since I first started making videos a couple of years ago, so I thought I'd do a few of those. Those are fun. It's great to go and listen to an artist's entire discography again and kind of get a sense and make some notes and things, and then, well, tell you all about it. So it's Jefferson Airplane is who I decided to do this time, and we'll start off with their debut from 1966. Jefferson Airplane Takes Off. This is when they had Signe Anderson as their female lead singer. Grace Slick was not a part of it yet. And so a little bit of a different, well, very different female vocal sound on here. She has more of like a country folk, like bellowing roots, like, you know, hey, we're going to get, you know, that kind of thing sometimes. And that comes out on this album. This is an actual 1969 pressing of this. And whoever had it before me was nice enough to put the After Bathing at Baxter's inner sleeve in there. But anyway, we'll get more to that when we get to that album. But yeah, this is an interesting, this has an interesting history of releases. There's very, very collectible version of this. When this first came out, the side one had actually 6 songs on it instead of just 5. And the last one on side 1 was called Running Round This World. And there's a couple of versions of that. It later ended up as the B-side of It's No Secret. And the reason it's not on this album is because RCA took it off because they thought it was about having sex on acid, which I think that is what it's about. But it has this word in there, trips. And they had to cut the word trips out of it. So on the single 45, B-side of It's No Secret, you get some weird sound effect played instead of the word trips. But it's not even on the album at all, unless you get a very, very rare first pressing, triple figures those are going for. And you can see that it's listed here as six songs on side 1. Now, the second pressing of this, they took that song off, but they left these 2 songs, Let Me In and what was the other one? Run Around, with their original lyrics. Okay, that was out for a little while. That's kind of uncommon release, the second issue of this. Now, the third issue came out right after that, and that's when they censored the songs Let Me In and Run Around and still kept Running Around This World off. So 5. That's this version. That's pretty much the common version where you've got the censored lyrics for the 2 songs and Running Around This World completely gone. So I waited and waited to find somewhere in the wild, find that first pressing with the uncensored everything, and it just didn't happen. It's not gonna happen. So I just recently got this. You can see it's still got whatever Record City Department D on there. But yeah. Signe Anderson, Jefferson Airplane Takes Off. It's a different sound for them. They're still trying to find their way. It's a lot of bluesy kind of stuff and kind of like light garage rock going on here. Blues from an Airplane, certainly. Let Me In, I talked about. That's the song that got censored. Originally, lines like, let me in, you know where, became let me in, it's not fair. Don't say you want money got censored into don't say you think it's funny. Okay, so we got... Bringing Me Down, Marty ballad there, and It's No Secret, one of my favorites from him as well, you know, the A-side of their first single. Tobacco Road, another Tobacco Road. You can't be a 60s, you know, group like this and not have a cover of Tobacco Road. I never really cared for that song. We start off side 2 with Come Up in the Years, kind of a creepy song about loving a girl that's too young and you just want her to magically age. A little different. Run Around, song I was talking about before, that the lyric in that got changed was... you know, the flowers that sway while you lay under me became the flowers that sway as you stay here with me. So, yeah, so you got censored stuff on here. Chauffeur Blues, not the best. I'm not a big Signe Anderson fan. I definitely prefer the Grace Slick years. And but this is a good album. This is my 4th favorite if we're ranking these. This is my 4th favorite Jefferson Airplane album. Their debut Takes Off. So many different releases and the CDs. Is really great because you get both the mono on this 1996 version. You get both the mono and the stereo. You get all the uncensored lyrics. You get you know, the Running Around This World song uncensored. There's a 2003 version of this as well that I believe doesn't have the mono but has the uncensored. So kind of an argument for the CD version of this actually, unless you find that gorgeous first pressing somewhere. I don't know if that's going to happen. Okay, so album number 2, Surrealistic Pillow. Here is the mono version, original on the black label RCA. Sounds great in mono. I'm not a big mono fan, but I'm a fan of this in mono. I like that. This is the stereo version. I'll show this one. It looks a little nicer. This is a later pressing. I'm surprised by this. This is a tan label 1971 pressing, and it sounds awesome. I grew up with this on, I didn't grow up with it, but I had it earlier on CD for a long time. The CDs of this are not that good. The vinyl of this blows any CD release I've heard away, especially those early CDs with the rainbow stripe on the spine from RCA. Those, all kinds of tape hiss, real low quality. Not too cool, but I love the way this sounds, especially this pressing. Eventually, I want to get that two disc 45 RPM audio file thing, but that's a rabbit hole I'm not sure how to start going down. Anyway, second album, Surrealistic Pillow. This is a lot of people's favorite. This is the one with the two big hits on it that Grace Slick brought from her Great Society group that her husband wrote. White Rabbit and Somebody to Love. Everybody loves and knows those songs, so this is a great album for people who are not necessarily into Jefferson Airplane but want to start somewhere. I'd start with this one because you were already kind of familiar. She has Funny Cars, kind of a neat way to start, kind of a quirky little song there. And then, of course, Somebody to Love. My Best Friend is kind of like a trippy, you're my, kind of a dreamy kind of thing going on there. Today, Marty Ballin ballad, slowing everything way down, way acoustic. And then Coming Back to Me wraps up side one. We got 3/5 of a Mile in 10 seconds. I love that song. That's a Marty Ballard vocal, really upbeat. Almost sounds like a soul type thing. I'm pretty sure it's a love song dedicated to marijuana. I think that's what's going on in that song. Know I Love You Baby, Yes I Do. He complains about a 15-year-old kid selling it. It's too expensive for that fine nicotine. I still love that song. I think the title actually refers to being on speed, though. DCBA 25 is LSD. That's a nice tune. Kind of that psychedelic. They're getting dreamy and psychedelic here, but it's a lighter kind of, not really sunshine pop, but they definitely got their own sound here. People that distract from these guys complain that it can sound like two bands playing two different songs at the same time. And I certainly do get that. And it starts with this album. They do kind of have their own groove going on, where it does kind of sound messy and all over the place. And then later on albums, you've got Grace Slick just wailing over the top of everything. Talk about that in a minute. Embryonic Journey, instrumental. How Do You Feel? Great song. I love all these dreamy kind of, how do you feel? These ethereal kind of vocals. They don't really go back to that a lot, so it's a lot of that's on here. White Rabbit, of course, the big Alice in Wonderland, feed your head, one pill makes you larger, the next makes you small. I know people that love that song and never realize it's called White Rabbit because it doesn't say that. But Plastic Fantastic Lover is about a TV set. That is a Marty Ballin. Another great Marty Ballin track. There's so many great tracks on here. And like I said, get the vinyl. But I don't know if you need to get like an original pressing or not. This 1971 tan label just sounds great. I love it. Okay, they follow that up with After Bathing at Baxter's. Here's the stereo and the mono pressings of that. You can see RCA did this, and a few other companies did too. You can see this is the same slick, right? It's the same thing, except for the stereo number is up here, the mono number is down here. So all they did was make the same slicks and just pull them up or pull them down, depending on if it was mono or stereo. So that's why the picture looks a little, different. They did the same thing with the early Elvis Presley albums, the RCA, Perry Como, even the Monkees, the Cold Gems RCA company. So that's why you see those kind of weird things like that. But anyway, this is their third album. I would say this is probably my third favorite album from these guys. It took me a while to get into this, though. It's very, very trippy. Very trippy. There's the gatefold. They start dealing with musical suites here. I'm not sure how important the suite is, the fact that it's a suite, but they're dividing it into 3 or 4 parts here. But very, like I said, just very longer. So there's no hit single here. I can imagine the execs at RCA like, where's White Rabbit? Where's Grace Slick's hits? And she gives songs on here like, these kind of meandering, kind of longer or controversial lyrics, like the song Two Heads. That's not going to become a single. And there's other stuff on here similar to that. They start getting a little more daring with a few of the lyrics too. Not quite too bad, but the great stuff on here just all the way through. Kicks off with the Ballad of You and Me and Pooneal, which I love the way that kind of starts just kind of low, and then the bass kicks in, and then it just takes off. But After Bathing at Baxter's, this is a very kind of more of a progressive sound for them. The songs are longer. You've got a 9-minute wild ride on here. You've got Won't You Try Sunday Afternoon, which always reminds me of their Woodstock performance later on, where they're just kind of chanting, "Won't you try, fly Jefferson Airplane." You know, they start getting real trippy on this. This is, like I said, it took me a little while to get into this one, but it ended up being my probably my third favorite Jefferson Airplane album. And that is followed by Crown of Creation. Here is a German pressing of that. Of course, you got to, if you're going to do Grace Slick, you got to have some German in there somewhere. Germany loves her, and we can understand why. Yikes. Don't get drunk and go to Germany anymore, Grace Slick. Crown of Creation from 1968. They start getting a little heavier here, getting away from the light psych of Surrealistic Pillow, getting away from the early garagey, kind of bluesy, trippy stuff on their first one. And now they've got this nuclear explosion on here and all this stuff. It's kind of a misleading thing here. You think this is going to blow you away when you put it on, but it starts off with three really kind of acoustic ballads, really. Lather, the song about the guy who's growing up and can't play with the kids anymore, but makes music with his nose. I think it was dedicated to their drummer. In Time is after that. Triad, the Crosby, Stills, Nash thing, where, you know, this time it's a woman. It's Grace Slick sings songs that you don't expect women to sing, I think, in this time. Was not alive in 1968, I can only imagine. But she's not understanding why you can't have, you know, two loves at the same time. Why can't we be a threesome? What's wrong with that? What's the deal? I want two men at once. What's up? What's the problem? Their problem? That's basically what that song is about. Restless Heart, the country group. Why does it have to be wrong or right? Similar theme. You've got Star Trek on here, coming out in 1968. That's where all that confusion from Star Trek come from. Their song called Star Trek, which is a great groove. I love that song as well. Yeah, you've got all kinds of great grooves on here. This is where they start kind of getting into that kind of, you know, more, like I said, more of a rock sound. Crown of Creation, the title track, is excellent. If You Feel kicks off side 2, kind of a rousing kind of throwback number for these guys. It's nice to hear that, though. They don't just, in their albums, they kind of change things up. That, you know, you get a rousing kind of like the, you know, 3/5 of a Mile song. You get like trippy, you know, light, sunshiny pop. You get the rockin' stuff on this. You get great grooves. Greasy Heart, a great slick track that a lot of people like. I'm not a big fan of that one, but a lot of people loving that Greasy Heart song. Those are all on here. So great sounds all the way through. Like I said, really varied and a great listen. The some of the vinyl releases I've heard of this, though, can sound really murky. So you want to make sure you get a nice vinyl press of this. Like I said, this is a nice German one. It sounds pretty good. The stream of this and the new CD, I got to give it up for the CD of this one as well. Actually sounds really good. Here's some CD releases. The aforementioned Surrealistic Pillow, After Bathing at Baxter's. I think the album is the way to go. With the After Bathing, too, I forgot to show you the inner sleeve of that as well, like a cartoon kind of drawing the band put together. They don't do too many inner sleeves, so that's nice to see that in there. Going back a minute for the After Bathing at Baxter's inner sleeve. So I was saying, though, that the mastering of this sounds pretty good. If you just want to deal with the CD, you can get the CD and you get some bonus tracks with all of these on there as well, single mixes and outtakes. Jefferson Airplane doing a good job in the CD realm. We're going to follow that up with a live album. Now, I'm going to talk about their live albums later, so we'll just put that aside. But after that, we get Volunteers of America with the peanut butter and jelly sandwich that you can put together. I mean, that is just... that's drugs, man. That's what drugs do. Let's do a gatefold. Look, we're Jefferson Airplane. We can do what we want. We'll just do a big peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Here's the CD where they didn't even bother replicating that. But anyway, yeah, We Can Be Together. Interesting album. Starting off with We Can Be Together. Great song with some really choppy, messy tape edits in there. I hope they don't ever fix those because it's like part of the song now. But yeah, Motherfucker in this song. What? Yeah, that's the opening track. Now, you may remember in 1966, I was talking about that Takes Off album, and they couldn't even say the word trips. You know, they couldn't even say, don't tell me you want money. They had to go back and repress everything, take those off. Just 3 years later, MF in the opening track, and then they say the F word again in here somewhere. And the lyric sheet, it's referred to as Fred. So that's interesting. All that censoring, by the way, on the Jefferson Airplane Takes Off, and nobody even noticed that the the cover is a postage stamp. Anyway, for those that understand that. Yeah, so back to this, though. Volunteers, Good Shepherd, nice groove tune. You put that little guitar that goes by. The Farm, Grace Slick, talking about, probably a hippie commune at this point. Hey, Frederick, great guitar work from Yorma on that. Wow. He is rocking out for a good 8 minutes on that. It starts off with some vocals. You think it's going to be a normal song, and then forget that. It just goes into this big, long rock guitar jam. So great way to close out side one. All kinds of great songs on here. Wooden Ships, the Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I was never a big fan of that, but they do their version of that. It's actually a Crosby, Stills, and Kantner composition. So it's not really a cover. I guess it's both their songs, you could say. And, well, their version of it is on here. And, yeah, just a song for all seasons is okay. I usually don't get into that one. But Volunteers, the song itself, Marty Ballin, great way to end this. We're Volunteers of America! Volunteers of America! It's a great live track that is on a lot of their live albums. Volunteers, when they really get into that groove. So, yeah, great album. This is probably my second favorite Jefferson Airplane album. They're really just hard rock here. They've sort of abandoned the psychedelic stuff. I'm pretty sure this is out. I don't want to say this, but I think this is out before Woodstock. And so they are just, this is prime stuff. You can see them in the front here. This picture was actually taken in 1967. But yeah, all in masks and stuff. But yeah, Volunteers, excellent. My second favorite Jefferson Airplane album. And if you're wondering what my first favorite is, it was Surrealistic Pillow. I just didn't want to say it at the time because, it's early on and it really blows the whole, climax of what's the number one, right? Everybody's just on pins and needles. Surrealistic Pillow is my favorite Jefferson Airplane album. I know, right? I'm such a boring cliche. My favorite Pink Floyd album, Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah. I'm trying to work on being cooler. I'm trying to work on it. You've probably seen the Jefferson Airplane Bark album with the bag over it with just the JA. So this is what it looks like when you take it completely out of the bag. It's really just as lame as the bag thing, but at least that looks like tobacco. This is just fish and human teeth wrapped in I don't know. Anyway, this album is, yeah, it's okay. This is where I start to kind of jet with the Jefferson Airplane. I don't really listen to these albums too much. This Bark and the one that follows it up. This is, Marty's out at this point, but John Papa Creech is in. He's a blues guy. He's an old blues guy. He's been playing with people since the 50s. In fact, if you want to see Papa John Creech play with Nat King Cole, you can check that out in the 1950 movie The Blue. You can check that out in the 1950 movie The Blue Gardenia, also starring Raymond Burr and Jeff Donnell and Ann Southern. And starring Ann Baxter, directed by Fritz Lang. Got the greatest police scaring a woman opening her door scene that I've ever seen. Anyway, Papa John Creech, very early blues performance from him in that movie with Nat King Cole. He is on here. The songs are okay. There's a lot of rock and a lot of energy. They just don't sound really like Jefferson Airplane much anymore. They sound like a rock band from the 70s. They really have kind of a typical sound on here and not a lot of, I keep pulling this record out because there's no track listing. And I don't listen to this all the time, so it's not like I could do like with the other ones where I'm just rattling the tracks off the top of my head. I actually have to look at these. But looking over some of these tracks, I mean, there's some good stuff on here. I think it's just the later stuff and the dumb cover, and it turns me off. But yeah, Crazy Miranda's pretty cool. Pretty As You Feel is very pretty. Wild Turkey's kind of a there kind of instrumental. Doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, it's good, but it's not like blowing you away or anything. Lawman, Grace Slick is suddenly a old West gunslinger going to shoot the sheriff or something. Never Argue with a German is just stupid. It's just Grace Slick doing a bunch of German sounding but non-German words. Hergen de Gergen, that kind of nonsense. Bark, that's probably my sixth favorite Jefferson Airplane album. Are you ready for my... that's Sun of Fire. That doesn't belong in there. You ready for my... Next one is Long John Silver from Jefferson Airplane. This is right there with Bark, except for this one, I don't care for the way they did a lot of the vocals on this. Grace Slicks especially, they put this choral flange or something on her voice, which makes it sound like it's coming like filling a room instead of just like coming out of someone's throat, and singing. It has this kind of effect on there throughout pretty much the entire album. And this is one of those albums that, it sounds like they set the controls in the studio and they recorded all the songs. There's not a lot of variety here. There's not a lot of innovation here. It's just a lot of rocking. Some of the songs rock more than others, typical, but not really a lot to say. Milk Train is a Grace Slick thing where she's like real kind of ballsy on there, just kind of in your face. The Son of Jesus, they get religious. Easter continues that on side 2. Kind of a screed on, religion ending side 1 and beginning side 2. And the lyrics are very unimaginative. They're very, very direct and very much like, like it sounds like they're thinking them up as they're going along, which a lot of their lyrics earlier sound like that as well. But it's kind of charming in the early days, like on Takes Off, where it sounds like they're just singing and making up the words because none of them rhyme or anything. But here, it's not. It's not my favorite. In fact, this is my second to least favorite Jefferson Airplane album. Long John Silver does have this cool thing though here, and this top here is like literally hanging by like one little thread, one little thing is holding that on. But you can take this out, and it makes like a box that you can put your weed in. There's the inner sleeve, similar to the the little JA thing there for the cigar, similar to the bark bag. But yeah, let's put this together. Let's see if I can do this. So, wow, you're supposed to do this high. I think these bend here, apparently. And then you got, oh, it has instructions. Who needs those? Okay. Oh, you got to tear it up. That's okay. No. Do you have to tear it up? You got to tear this out. I see. I'm not going to tear this out. But what you do is you do this, and you put this over it. You tear this whole thing out, and then it makes like a little thing where you can see you have a bunch of weed here at the bottom. That's more like a wishful thinking thing there. But yeah, so I didn't realize you had to tear that out. You have to break all this up to put it together. But yeah, so so I didn't put it together. I lied. Jefferson Airplane, Long John Silver, box still intact. Okay, so now we're up to 1989 and the self-titled Jefferson Airplane album. Now, this was the year that Crosby, Stills and Nash, or the time, I should say, maybe not the year, but Crosby, Stills and Nash had a comeback or attempted to. Grateful Dead in 86, 87 just had their first number one, top 40 hit. They were like pop stars. And there was a few other acts that attempted to come back too. 20th anniversary of Woodstock, I think, fueled a lot of that. I remember watching MTV at that time, and the Woodstock thing was everywhere. Everybody's wearing tie-dyes. They got this character, Randy from the Redwoods, running around, this freaked out hippie guy. And so it was like 1969 all over again. I think the Monkees had just come back on MTV before that. They brought that whole 60s thing back. So they're bringing back all the 1969 people. White Rabbit from, from the Dick Smothers show, his Smothers Brothers show, or the Dick Cavett show or something. They were playing that video all the time like it was Paul Abdul or something. So they decided to come out with a new album. Everybody gets back together again. And it's 1989, and yeah, I mean, I listened to the album. It doesn't have a lot of the 80s sheen, that real 80s, like super, super keyboard-driven stuff. That's not on this album a lot, so that was good to hear, I will say that. But I did check out 2 of the videos, the music videos, for the 2 songs on here, Planes and Ice Age. They kick off each of the sides, and it's in those videos where you can kind of get more of a literal visual of what I kind of feel when I'm listening to this album. And it's just really just 5 different people who seem to have gone on different journeys in their life by now, all getting back together. They don't look like they fit together. Everybody's, completely dressed. They got their own style. You got Grace Slick, who had just been in Starship, just had a #1 hit a few years ago, all kinds of other hits along with that. She's back just looking completely bored. You got Jack Cassie looking just completely uncomfortable. You know, Yorm is there. He actually looks cool. He looks like he's badass, belongs in the late. He looks like he could walk right out of Tesla or, you know, Extreme or something. He fits right in the whole, like, thing there with the 80s. And, you know, you've got Paul just being Paul, still being Paul, and I don't know if it fits or not. And you got Marty, you know, I don't know what he's doing in the play. It's like he's doing the whole thing. He's like, oh, yeah, yeah, we're rocking now. Yeah, hey, we're every scene you see him in, he's just doing these. I don't know what that is, but the problem with the album isn't like really. Well, it is bad lyrics. There's a lot of bad lyrics. There's a lot of very straightforward stuff that almost sounds like a commercial or a PSA or something. The music on a lot of these songs, especially the Paul Kantner ones, sounds like epic soundtrack music. Like, but when you're listening to a Jefferson Airplane album, I don't think most people want to hear that. Like, we're heading up the mountain to freedom and glory. Da, 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 da. I mean, there's not a song that says that, but I mean, it's that kind of feeling that you get. Like you're watching some sort of movie where the battle is raging on and we're headed up the hill or something. It doesn't fit with Jefferson Airplane. The first song, Planes, is just this strange thing about a kid. He was a boy that loved planes, and his parents didn't care, and then he had a son, and he liked planes too, and he liked flying things, and his parents loved him. It's just this really, what? You know, kind of a song. I think Marty Ballin is the other single, The Ice Age. It's more of like a carnival thing going on in the video, and it's more of a, I don't know. Like I said, the songs aren't awful. That's the thing. It's not like the Beach Boys Summer in Paradise thing that I talked about a few videos back, where it's so bad, it's hilarious. You want to get a little inebriated and put that on with some friends and just have a laugh. There's no laughs here. It's just not cool. That's the problem. You can't be Jefferson Airplane and be not cool, because that was their whole thing throughout the 60s. They were cool. No matter if you liked their music or not, they had this whole attitude that they were right where they belonged. They were the bomb. They were the, you know, whatever. They were there. It was their time. It was, you know, they were right there in their element, and they were the superstars of it, or one of the superstars of it. And now they're not, and they're just not cool. And it's really, you can't be Jefferson Airplane and not be cool. And that's what's going on here in 1989 with this self-titled release, which is my 8th favorite Jefferson Airplane album out of their 8 studio releases. So that's my studio release rankings. Surrealistic Pillow. Sorry, it's a little predictable, but that's my number 1. And it's just as predictable as putting the 1989 release at, you know, the very, very bottom. Not a place to start. And I notice that none of those songs show up on compilations or something from that last album. Now, it is a different label, but still, come on. Sony, I think, is still BMG, so it's technically the same thing now. So we've done that. Let me just do a quick overview. If you're super fans, talking about some of the other releases, you got this right here. I want to talk about this one first, a little out of order. From 1974, Early Flight. This is a release that, you know, just compiles a bunch of B-sides and outtakes that weren't good enough the first time around. And I usually use that expression like, yeah, it wasn't good enough first time around, but suddenly we can release it. But this is a really good album, and this plays like a good album. It doesn't play like a disjointed, choppy, you know, bunch of sessions from all different things. Here's a live track, here's an outtake, here's a B-side. It plays like a really, you know, cohesive album. Tracks on here like High Flying Bird, I love, and great tracks. Running Around This World, you finally get it on an album with the word trips in it. Wow. It's Alright's pretty good. You got the Mixed Step B Blues on here, Up or Down. Mexico, the single that was never on an album, is on here now. Now that's a little bit later, you know, not my favorite. Up or Down, Go to Her. Great early song that didn't get a lot of attention early on. Love that with Signe. And Signe's on a lot of these. Because a lot of these are the early tracks, well, some of them are the early tracks from Takes Off, outtakes. This is a very Marty Ballin heavy album, though. A lot of Marty on here. If you're a big fan of Grace Slick, you don't care about anybody else, you just want to hear Grace Slick, this is probably not the album to get. But a great list. I was really surprised how good this is, and I return to this album often. I don't play a lot of, you know, the outtakes albums a lot, but this one plays pretty well. The first one, Bless His Pointy Little Head, first live album they came out with. It's not my favorite live album, but it is legit because it's from 1971, recorded at the Fillmore East, and it does have their, the typical songs that they would play in concert from that time. And their earlier stuff is even on here, like "It's No Secret," "Plastic Fantastic Lover," two of my favorites. Just a lot of great stuff on here. Not the best recording, but if you want to get the legitimate live album that everybody had when the AIDS albums were all out, it's Bless This Point a Little Ahead. A few years later, 1973, 30 Seconds Over Winterland from the Winterland concert. A big festival. There you go there. Grunt. Great inner sleeve there. And this sounds great. This has a nice full rich sound to it. Probably got a little bit of embellishments on there. That's the way they used to do the live albums in the 70s. You may recognize that. It used to be a really popular screensaver back in like the, I think, mid 90s. A lot of people had that in their Windows package or whatever. They actually got sued. Jefferson Airplane tried to sue them because, hey, that's our album cover. You can't make that your own. And apparently the judge said, yeah, they can. You didn't copyright the image. You just copyrighted the album. But yeah, you get live versions of Crown of Creation on here. That's great. Trial by Fire, great song you don't hear a lot. Where the Earth Moves Again. So you get a lot of the Bark stuff on here, but it does have a nice, rich, full sound. And again, it's from 1973. So one of their legitimate live albums from that period, but not my favorite. So I mean, you got to get the Sweeping Up live album where they're at the Fillmore there. That is incredible. A lot of energy going on. It's the one with like the kind of orangish cover. Great live album. That's probably my favorite of their live albums. And they've got so many now that's available. They're making them available because they've only got 8 albums. They got to keep putting product out. So yeah, a great one to get Sweeping Up there with the orange cover. A lot of energy, a whole lot of energy in that. Really lets you understand why they were such a great live act. And there's other live albums out there as well. The one that came out in the 90s, live at the Fillmore with two kind of like Egyptian kind of cover on there. That one's pretty good, but the sound is a little bit flat. The drumming especially doesn't have a nice tone to it, so I wouldn't do that one necessarily first unless you're going for, this was released in the 90s. A lot of people have it and heard it, that whole thing. But yeah, some great live albums out there, and now available. At least I think it's an MOD CD, so you probably don't want that, but you can stream it. I don't know if it's on vinyl or not, but they have both Signe Anderson's last show. That entire show is available, and then also the release of Grace Slick's first show. So those are 2 live albums. I haven't checked those out yet, but I will definitely want to hear those. And that's a nice kind of like you get the ending and the beginning, so it's right together like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now Jefferson Airplane compilations, of course, the legitimate, I guess, one, the one that was out, the worst of Jefferson Airplane. This is a great one to listen to for me because it doesn't include the Bark and Long John Silver era. It just has up until then because it came out in 70. So this has like, I don't know, like 15 songs on it or something. And everything that the casual fan would want. Obviously, White Rabbit and Somebody to Love is on here, but all their other great songs, some of my, all my favorites, they found out what they were and they put them all conveniently on an album. So Jefferson Airplane, they also have The Roar of Jefferson Airplane, which came out in, I think, 2001. I don't really get that one. It's got a nice album cover, but don't get that one. It doesn't have White Rabbit on it, for God's sakes. I think it concentrates more on the heavier Jefferson Airplane, if you're into that. They also have they came out in 1987, a double album. The CD has all kinds of bonus stuff on there. That's a good overview if you want a double album from them. If the single worst of isn't enough, you want a double, that's a good one. Came out in 87, and it doesn't have any previously unreleased stuff on there, just except for some Levi commercials that the group did. So it's basically the tracks if you want the actual studio tracks. That's a good one to get. Jefferson Airplane Loves You is a the double album is called 2400 Fulton Street. What was I thinking? 2400 Fulton Street is the double album. Jefferson Airplane Loves You is the three CD box set. That's one you want to get if you're already a big fan. It's got all kinds of outtake versions and live versions. It's not something you want to maybe get first. Jefferson Airplane Loves You. It was a big release when it came out. It's like the Jefferson Airplane box set. But I think if you're trying to get into them, I think the 2400 Fulton Street is a better comp to get. And the Essential Jefferson Airplane, that a whole Essential where it's got the black and white photo. There's like, I don't know, 100 different people on this Essential series. This, unfortunately, a lot like the others, double disc, double CD, all kinds of tracks, probably too many for most people. Has that brick walled sound, has a very compressed brick wave sound, if you know what that is. The loudness wars. Yeah, the Essential Jefferson Airplane won the loudness wars, just so everybody knows they won. Okay, so I would not necessarily get that one if you're doing the CD thing. So we've got Jefferson Airplane, all kinds of, you want more, that's not enough. There's all kinds of side projects. You've got Paul Kantner and Grace Slick teaming up for Sunfighter. There's Baby China there. You know, kind of a more of a mellow thing, of just these two, kind of a personal release. You got, Marty Ballin going off with Bodacious DF. This has got a rockin' release here, especially The Witcher. Kind of a weird release for these guys. The original is a gatefold, but yeah, Bodacious DF. Marty Ballin goes off and does that. And of course you have Jefferson Starship, which started, Marty was in that for a while. As I said, Papa John Creech, a part of that. And, they bring in some other people as well. There's the original, there's the Best Buy one. More Jefferson Starship. Jefferson Starship when there's no Grace Slick, there's no Marty Ballin. It's now the guy from Bishop Group, guy that sang "Fooled Around and Fell in Love" is now with Jefferson Starship singing. Man, it's a good thing they had that song Jane. That's all I'm going to say. It's a good thing they had the song Jane. Or I don't know what would have happened. This probably wouldn't have happened. And Grace Slick on the cover there, looking very, very 80s. As well as the inner sleeve. But yeah, is this the one with Find Your Way Back? Yeah, Find Your Way Back is on there. That's a big song for them. More Jefferson, No Way Out! Yeah, Nuclear Furniture. If you want to go that far. And then, of course, if you want to go even farther, here we got the 80s release from the KBC band. It's Marty Ballin, Paul Kantner, Jack Cassidy, not necessarily in that order. This used to get played a lot. This got played more on rock radio, I remember, than the Jefferson Airplane album. They used to play the America on MTV all the time, the song America. And then on the rock radio, used to play, I used to hear It's Not You, It's Not Me off of this. So it was big for, a couple of months or whatever. And of course, Starship. What became, this is the best way to do Starship. Just some 45s. You just need some 45s. I actually really like this song. Not a big fan of this one, but this one's not too bad. The movie Mannequin. And of course, this is really the best way if you want to hear a Starship album. Just break out the cassette. What was the Tomorrow Doesn't Matter Tonight? Yeah, that's a good one. Sarah, Storms Are Brewing in Your Eyes. So there is my Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship, KBC band, Bodacious DF, Sunfighter review. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I got some more album rankings I'd like to do. This was fun. I like to go through, like I said, the whole discography of somebody and check it out and kind of put my own spin on there. What are your favorites albums? Maybe Bark is your favorite. Maybe Surrealistic Pillow, you hate it. But let's see, what are some of your favorite Jefferson Airplane songs? Didn't even talk about that. Well, I did talk about some of my favorites, but didn't rank them. But would love to hear about that. The Jefferson Airplane stories, Starship stories. Did you see them in concert? Let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching. Please consider giving the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And also subscribe to see more videos so you don't miss any of those. I'm Robert Fitton, and thanks again for watching.